Today we want to talk about CSR. What do those three letters stand for?
Corporate social responsibility.
Corporate social responsibility. What does that mean to somebody who's on a board of directors?
Well, it means that outside of the normal issues that they have to deal with, they have to be in tune with how the organization operates outside of their normal sphere. What's their effect of the organization on the environment? What's the effect on different stakeholder groups that would normally not be considered on the profit line?
Of stakeholders.
This is all about stakeholders, different groups of stakeholders.
It seems to me in Europe, they talk about this and worry about this a lot more than we do in North America. Is that your experience?
It certainly is. This has been on their agendas, board agendas, for a number of years. We're just starting to see it in Canada. Most firms had a CSR policy, but it was a policy. They checked the box there. Today, it has to be a living policy.
What comes to my mind is what's been happening recently in pipelines. Seems impossible to build one now. Is that an example of an expanding corporate social responsibility requirement?
Yeah. Well, think of the different stakeholder groups that are involved. You've got Aboriginal groups, you've got environmentalists, you've got provincial and federal governments, their agencies as well. So Environmental Protection Agency, you've got all these different stakeholders that they have to please and align themselves with. So it's a great deal of work, and boards have to be aware of this as part of the strategic plan.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, but it does mean for a director of a publicly traded company in, say, pipelines, oil and gas, mining, that you're going to be spending a lot more time worrying about a lot more than just the management performance.
You have to know the business intimately, and that's one of the things that when we talk about skill sets, we wanted the accounting, we wanted the legal, now you want sector experience, people who have real experience running these types of companies sitting on the board.
Now, what happened in the case of BP, which had that massive 5 million gallon oil spill catastrophe in the Gulf of Mexico? Did their stakeholder groups expand as a result of that?
Well, think of, all the tourism business, the fishing, the hunting, all the different stakeholder groups that were affected by that spill, and the costs of going back and remediating those types of issues.
Yeah, I think it, in the end, cost the company $65 billion. So you think maybe if somebody left the boardroom and gone and investigated the ethos, ethics, morality, and procedures in the American acquisitions, might have had a clue earlier.
Yeah, we used to look at, this is all about risk as well.
Yeah.
We used to see risk under the audit committee. Now risk is being pulled out. It's either a committee on its own or it's embedded in all the committees. And this has to be on a board's agenda now. What are our risks? What are the real risks today versus what's we talk about heat maps. What are the hot risks today versus cool or risks that are being contained?
And for the operating director in the boardroom, should he or she be spending a lot more time outside the boardroom understanding these other stakeholder groups?
It takes a lot more time to be a director today because of what you're saying. It isn't just attending the meetings. It's actually going out to the field, understanding the operations much more intimately, knowing the risks that are posed by these various stakeholder groups as well, and how to deal with them.
So this has made the job of a corporate director even tougher.
It really is. It wasn't that uncommon for someone to sit on 6, 7, 8 boards.
Yeah.
You're not going to see that today. You just don't have time.
So in terms of time taken to be an effective director of, let's say, a mid-cap company, you're not talking 50 hours a year now or even 100. What are we talking?
I think the average today is somewhere between 250 and 300 hours per year. Well, put that in terms of weeks. That's 7 to 8 weeks.
And that's in a company that presumably doesn't have a crisis.
Exactly. When a crisis hits, it's all hands on deck.
100% of your time in a way.
In many cases, and that's one of the decisions you have to decide. All the directors may not be able to just stop what they're doing and assist in this project.
So as you look forward, corporate social responsibility is going to be a bigger and bigger item on board agendas and the activities of the average director. Is that right?
It already is.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, David.